I am thrilled to be here with three super distinguished partners of ours to chat with you about sustainability and innovation and how they come together. Before we dive into all of this, why don't we have you guys introduce yourselves?
So my name is Mark. I'm one of the founders and directors at Thrust Carbon. So thank you, Peter, for the shout out earlier. Much appreciated. We're the leading emissions intelligence platform for travel, and we'll tell you all about that in a little bit shortly. So here to talk about sustainability.
Hi, Bradley Matthews, lead digital payment innovation, partnerships, and marketing at US Bank. And as you talked about updating your headshot, I am the most banker-looking person on the slide, and that is not what I am, so I'm definitely getting a new headshot.
Hi, Jørgen from Cardlay. We run a card management solution where we integrate the infrastructure of SAP Concur with the company's existing bank to onboard the employees to virtual cards, among others, seamlessly embedded into the infrastructure of SAP Concur.
Fantastic. Well, before we launch into questions, because I got a stack of cards here, so lots of different questions, I just wanted to share some thoughts with all of you around this topic, around sustainability and innovation. And, you know, we hear the word sustainability all the time, right? It's all over the place, especially prevalent in the workspace today. But when I think about sustainability and I think about, well, what does this really mean? And what does it really mean to our customers and to our partners? How do we help them to drive innovation, to drive sustainability practices within their own businesses is what I really start to think about. So as we were preparing for this, I actually ran across an article that was super cool. For those of you that I haven't had an opportunity to work with, I like things pretty simple. I always call it Fisher-Price ready, right? Things that are Fisher-Price ready, it makes it a little bit easier. So I ran across this article that made it really succinct and really actually fascinating. It bucketed sustainability and innovation kind of into three different buckets. The first bucket was around social sustainability. So what is social sustainability? Social sustainability is actually that people pillar. Think about things like fair pay, right? Think about things like work-life balance. Think about things like diversity, equality, inclusion, those types of things. The second pillar that they talked about was this pillar around social sustainability. And what is social sustainability? It's like that planet pillar. So things where companies are thinking about how they are impacting our environment, water, air, energy, land, things like that. The third bucket was more around like their company profitability. They called it economic sustainability or the profit pillar. And this was about driving things like profitability and ensuring the business can grow and they're giving back to their shareholders and they're growing their business. So I thought those three buckets actually made a lot of sense to me. And honestly, all three of those buckets are critically important. And the number one thing that you want to do is try to drive a balance across all three of these pillars. So that's what I'm super excited about today. I think today the whole goal of bringing these wonderful partners on stage is to get their insights and perspective on innovation and sustainability and how we can each take a little nugget from something that they're saying and go and make this place a better place, make this world a better place, and build your businesses and help our customers. So with that, we're going to dive into some questions. Are you guys ready? I don't have a lot of cards. I have a few. You ready for this one? Ready? Mark, we're going to start with you. Okay, so Mark, I was recently reading a survey. This survey was super interesting. 80% of the respondents were business travelers, and they were between the ages of 25 and 39. And they responded by saying that they are more inclined to work for an organization that builds sustainability objectives into their corporate travel policies. Number one, does that surprise you? And number two, how is that influencing or how does that work and play out in your world?
Yeah, not surprised at all. I am a millennial. I fit into that category. I've been in ESG my entire career. When I started, I was preaching this exact gospel, and people were like, nodding their heads. Oh, sure. People people are much more interested in the capital side of things. But the climate crisis is escalating at a speed at which now everyone is aware of. People are more sensitive to it than ever. People want to feel like they can do something about it. Because also the anxiety, if you feel like you're not doing anything about it, when your kids ask you, hey, you seem to travel a lot, what are you doing about it, is pretty hard to take as a parent, right? So the more we have proactive solutions, the better. And then once we start having solutions that we can do, people talk positively about it, right? Sustainability should be a positive force for good that we can share with our peers, not something that you get beaten over the back with, like something you're not good enough about. And to really reinforce that point, Paul Polman from formerly Unilever was really pushing what I think will be the term of the year in HR at least, which is conscious quitting. So last year we had quiet quitting. If you guys, did you follow quiet quitting? I'm not sure how much of a thing it was, but we all talked about it. With conscious quitting, it's now nearly 50% of British people who left their job in the last 6 months factored in ESG and their company values into their decision-making process for leaving their business.
Wow.
So, and that's across the UK at least. So again, this kind of data is coming in everywhere.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. So I have a question for all of you. We got a few. So just getting started. So it's a newer topic for a lot of you. Yeah. Does that surprise you, Mark? Do these responses surprise you?
Not at all, right? We're still at the early days of both figuring out what's going on across our whole business. That requires data, information, then the tools in order to analyze these kind of things, and then tools that are going to help you for predicting the future, forecasting and making new behavioral decisions, et cetera, et cetera. All of that stuff takes time, right?
Right.
We were the first sustainability app center partner, and we only launched a year ago, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's our anniversary, yay.
Yeah.
And that shows, right? There are now more sustainability tools inside the App Center, which is brilliant. There are more and more businesses that are solving your problems, no matter what industry or vertical in which you operate. So there is more and more support out there, but you've also got to be proactive and go look for it. And as soon as you start taking steps, you'll also feel better about your efforts, right? And you'll have something to show for it, even if it is, we're looking at some partners, we haven't made a decision yet.
We're just getting started.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. That's cool. So let's say, listen, I'm starting my own business, pretend. I'm not really starting my own business, but let's say I was. And I wanted to integrate sustainability into my business. How would I do that? Where would I even start?
Right. So again, a lot of companies or individuals can really struggle because you look at sustainability across your entire business and you go, core. So that might mean, do we have any issues where we might have modern slavery in our supply chain? For context, 76% of all British high street retailers suspect modern slavery in their supply chain.
Wow.
That's huge.
Wow.
Then you have emissions on plastics, you have your travel, you have your wider supply chain. There's a lot to deal with there. And I'm confident that not many of us, if any of us, are experts in all of those things in the room. So then it's, where do you need to focus? Where do you start? And where do you get great data to inform you? As a SAP Concur customer, it's the perfect place to start because you have all of that data just ready for you. And then it's a question of how do you take all your travel data, your expense data, turn it into sustainability data, really enrich it so that you can then have one, accurate data that you can report to your CFO, your C-suite, and again, with incoming regulation, both in Europe that exists, in the US that's coming, with the SEC. Like, you've got to be ready for that, and you need powerful tools to do that. So, yeah, start with Concur, and similarly across the rest of your business. Where else can you find people playing in your ecosystem? Tackling this crisis is going to be such hard work. The last thing you need is difficult software that's rubbish or crazy expensive. We're just not going to be able to get ourselves to net zero 2050 if that's the path ahead.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's complicated, right? It doesn't sound like it's an easy thing to go tackle. And it also sounds like it might be super expensive to go try to go do. Is that an accurate assessment, or is it just me that's feeling that way? I don't know.
I appreciate you teeing me up. So from our perspective, when we built the business, it was always a case of, we cannot price people out. This has to be an affordable, easy-to-use solution. So for us, it starts at literally a few $100s for an annual subscription, right? And then it goes up. But again, it just can't be crazy expensive. Right. And then on the difficulty side of things, again, it's, we're not experts in emissions across everything, right? Or sustainability. I really don't know anything about modern slavery other than that stat I shared, right?
Right.
but we do know next to everything about emissions and data in travel.
Well, you've been an amazing partner, and I know that your organization, along with SAP Concur, you guys have helped a lot of clients achieve their goals. Do you have any stories that you can share with us?
Well, thank you very much. It's certainly been an amazing year. We've literally been inundated through the App Center and the referral process. It's been amazing, and yeah, we just really enjoy being able to take clients through that perspective of one, just turning on an integration that now exists. So enriching your data, getting everything moving. It's as simple as that. We've then built out our customer success team. We're growing rapidly, which is really awesome. So we got a ton of testimonials from the kind of large enterprise clients down to all the way down to companies that are 20, 30 people and maybe only have a few people traveling, or you have a couple of C-suite who are on the road non-stop.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mark. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit, and this is something we're going to engage a little bit more with Bradley and Jørgen. And this is a topic that some of you are already using. Most everybody in the room has probably heard about it, if you have any employees that travel internationally at all, and it's virtual card. Like, I could sit and geek out on this stuff all day long and 10 times on Sunday. So virtual cards. Tell us a little bit about, Jørgen, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about the world of virtual cards and what's been going on in that area.
I think that we have all seen through the last 5 years all the opportunities coming up of using virtual card. But it hasn't had the leverage that was expected because the distribution power hasn't been as fast and integrated as expected, or the software wasn't made for it, for this distribution. So everybody's hearing right now about embedded payment, meaning that integrated into the system like SAP Concur, so that you actually use the infrastructure approval process and so forth, actually to get the card issued so that they are with your clients. Another thing is something that we call embedded onboarding. And that is that if you have to have the approval processes in SAP Concur and then go to your administration and finance and have them going to the bank setup and have that distribution through that setup, then you actually have a kind of an obstacle in the processes. So what we truly believe is embedding the onboarding as well, meaning using the full strong customer authentication from SAP Concur to onboard the company's existing banks so that they can actually distribute cards and budgets directly from SAP Concur. And this is something that we truly believe in that will really increase the distribution by many factors.
And I would just add, I think if you look at the beginning, the big use cases were a lot of airlines putting virtual cards in the back end. How can they reconcile large volumes of spend with really tight controls? And they could invest in tight integration and make the investment worthwhile to get what they needed. But now that we've moved past that, we need to get to those other use cases, down to the common traveler. And I think that's where, one, the embedded payments that you talked about and embedding into the systems you're using today makes a lot of sense. And the other part I would add is making those available in the mobile wallet. We're pushing a lot on that. We're seeing that a lot in the industry. But getting it down to individuals where they have it in their hand in real time, can tap and pay and use it, versus the experience they previously had of reading out a card number, showing it on a printout, it just falls apart. But having it directly in the mobile wallet enables a whole new set of payment categories and problems to solve.
Well, speaking of that, sustainability and innovation go hand in hand, right? So companies are constantly having to think about how they innovate, how they stay ahead. What are some of the ways that they can do that, Bradley?
Yeah, I think staying ahead is obviously listening to all of you, and that's what I enjoy most, is talking to customers about their challenges, problems. So if you listen to the pain points your customers are experiencing, that's where a lot of ideas can come from. But the other one is simply looking ahead and keeping track of the future and building the stepping stones to get there, and then taking that and testing really quickly. So we work really well at US Bank on trying out quick ideas, failing fast, and does it work, does it not, does it add benefit, and just keep doing that. And we do that with our partners, we do that in-house, but just looking at what your customer is saying, where the industry is going, and then testing quickly is, I think, where we're going for how we keep ahead of innovation.
Anything to add, Jørgen?
Yeah, and just to add the obvious, this is virtual and fully digital. So, of course, we always talked about the walking plastic, meaning the plastic card we use for commercial payment, and of course that went into being reconciled and so forth. Now we are talking about the walking wallet because this is instant distribution, it's instant use, it's instant reconciliation, and that is what we all are looking for because that gives you a holistic overview of both the spend, the expenses, and what it's actually been used for. And this is, of course, an obvious future.
Yeah. And Jørgen, what factors are playing into the adoption of virtual cards?
Yeah, and sorry to repeat myself, but it's so important. And that is that it has to get in the hand easily and be distributed easily to all the employees that can use it and all the frequent worker and workers, coming in just occasionally. So it's about distribution, and it has to be 100% adopted into the infrastructure of where you run the hierarchy in your employees, and that's SAP Concur. Then you can distribute it, because if you have to do it the other way around, then you're suddenly dependent on systems that are not that fluent and not run. Then it starts with, you ask for a card instead of ask for a budget and ask for an employee to use something. And that is just a change in the world right now. That's embedded onboarding, embedded payment.
Bradley, anything to add?
Yeah, I would just add that I agree that those are some significant challenges. And when we built our virtual pay to mobile wallet solution, Instant Card, integrated with SAP Concur, that one of the big challenges we started to see in the adoption was just mobile payment acceptance. So that's the next barrier, that if you can get the embedded payments, you can get it into the hands of the right people, now they need to use it. And we've talked a lot about negatives of COVID and the pandemic the last few years. This is actually one of the positives. The number of accepting merchants, mobile accepting, has skyrocketed in the last few years. That really has helped enable this use case of virtual in the mobile wallet and tap and pay.
Yeah, so let's take that one a step further a little bit. You mentioned it earlier too, Bradley, that sometimes there's a hesitancy around implementing a virtual card program. So, and when you start to think about like the infrequent traveler or the traveler that doesn't have a personal card, what do we do in that situation?
Yeah, and I think that's where I talked about kind of the new use cases. We have solved really well when you can get plastic, a true plastic card out to individuals that are traveling frequently. But for those individuals that are at home, working from home, and just need to make a quick purchase, they have that conference they go to once a year, they really don't have or shouldn't have a need for a corporate card. And so being able to push them a card in real time from within the tool sets you're already using, SAP Concur, your HR platforms, etc., enables them to go and spend within your controls, within your policy, flowing through the same exact systems and policy and process and workflow to then ultimately end up into your accounting platform. So that's really a big push of just keeping it in the systems that you're using, but enabling those new use cases.
And just to add, today there's around 30 to 40% of the payments that are running on private card and cash. And that creates big opportunities for errors and fraud. And it actually also has to come from the companies that there's a demand for usage of the obvious, easy, instant, real-time tool to pay, because that will secure you guys to have a much more secured and less errors, less fraud, and that will take a lot of administration by the end, simply by demanding that when you put up a budget and there's an attached virtual card to that budget, that data flows back to that budget, meaning that you actually have a pre-approved approval flow for the payment, and that will change a lot of the out-of-pocket and private paid opportunities that you see.
Fantastic. And Bradley, I know that US Bank and SAP Concur are known for helping our customers innovate. Do you have any stories that you can share with us?
Yeah, I'd say two. One actually, just as we were talking, that came up. We started to see a trend as we were rolling out Instant Card that people were not using it for the infrequent traveler, the instant cash that we were expecting. They were using it for their purchasing. Just going out is a way of making a very quick and easy button solution to getting a card, pushing a payment card. So have integrated that into the Concur invoice solution. So you have a really streamlined process of getting those virtual cards quickly. The other one is a really interesting opportunity that we have with a joint customer that was putting their meeting spend into the program. And they had their meeting planners that would traditionally have the Rolodex of cards of which meeting am I at, which city am I at, what's the spend type, and to be able to do that all from Instant Card, where you could go into the system, grab a card as you need it for the meeting, and put all of your spend there. It gives really great visibility and control down to all of the spend for that meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Jørgen, I have a question for you. You've been tremendously successful in helping companies implement B2B payments, virtual card programs. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's about looking into, again, the use cases. So we started in a lot of use cases with mobility and how could we pay something, that we were normally not paying and grasp into the information and the transaction flows going directly back to SAP Concur. But it actually changed quite rapidly because getting this easy distribution into the hands of the employees and meant that, okay, then we can use it for this as well and this as well. And me being Danish and traveling the world, I never carry my plastic anymore. And I think that I can carry out 99.99% with my virtual card. Yeah. And I can tell you I've been some weird places. And so it's actually quite substantial information here. Yeah. But I think that what we see is that when it really gets into the control of the company and they see the easiness, the real time, the distribution power of it, then it actually creates in itself for the company the new use cases, because it can be used for so much now in the future for the account payables, as mentioned earlier, and so forth. So it's a very broad opportunity game when it gets really distributed well.
Awesome. Well, thank you. You guys, we have one final question. We're going to do this one rapid fire. So just one tip for the audience. We'll start with you, Mark, on gaining buy-in from leadership and stakeholders.
I mean, I'm a big fan of put together the cost side of things. So demonstrate that sustainability is about reducing emissions, but you can also then reduce costs by doing it properly as well, rather than seeing it just, sustainability, it has to cost more. And if you don't know how to do that, that's where, come to someone like us or someone else who can help you put that together, create the case study, and then go make it happen.
Fantastic. Brett?
Yeah, for mine, I would say, obviously costs are valuable, but it is getting into the experience, letting them experience that innovation or new product, new process themselves. We, a few years ago, built out a product that was an AI-based intelligent agent that would help coordinate all your travel expense, kind of all of your items that you needed. And we faked it. We bought a bunch of people, a bunch of phones, sat them on the back end, gave them access to everybody's email, calendar, profile, everything. And they would just text with them, acting as if it was an agent, and they would go and complete all the work. The feedback we got from our senior executives is they didn't want to go back to the old process, which was just having their admins do all the work. It was that significant of a change and improvement for them that we got the money we needed to actually build that out completely just from them experiencing that.
Yeah, and I think, on top of that, I would say you don't learn to swim if you don't jump into the water. I would choose a group of non-frequent travelers that pay occasionally and actually test it off on a group that can be X amount of persons or whatever, and do it the same with the frequent players and say that, guys, we would like you to test out not to use your normal commercial card for the next 3 months, and we'll invite you to whatever restaurant or give them something, to succeed for, and then let them test out because they'll love it. That's a promise from me.
Well, thank you all very, very much. It's been a pleasure having you guys on stage. Thank you for joining me. And thank you guys as well. Bobby, back to you.